coming up this weekend. Hard to believe, but it is another season of the Butler County Symphony. And today on the show, we are talking with the guest conductor for this Saturday's show. He is Moon Doe, and Moon joins us by telephone. Moon, good to chat with you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, Tyler, for this invitation. Hello, everybody.
So, Moon, this is an interesting, because when I saw the season list come out, I almost did a double take on the first show because it is going to be based around video games. So maybe if you could provide a little insight as to how the Symphony actually even came about with the idea to do a video game show to kick off the year.
Oh, absolutely. I am sure everyone has had, exposure and experience playing games, at one time of their childhood, or maybe you still play now. And there's so much wealth in the soundtrack to these video games. And I wanted to bring these wonderful soundtracks to a concert hall and have the wonderful Butler County Symphony Orchestra perform them. And I just wanted to show the diversity of repertoire an orchestra can perform throughout this season. Of course, the orchestra performs pop, the holiday pop, a lot of classical repertoire, but, there's this huge untapped territory, if you will, of great video game soundtracks. So that was the motivation.
Were you a video game player in your younger days?
Well, to be honest, I only played Super Mario. My parents were very strict, but still I had exposure to a lot of friends who played video games, and I've always, found, the soundtrack to be very, very, very influential, on how one approaches the game, because the soundtrack adds so much to the playing component. It
is funny that you talk about that, and it wasn't really something, again, when I saw this show, that's what I found to be interesting about it, is there are these just, iconic video game soundtracks that are out there, theme songs, whatever it may be, and we so closely associate them with our childhood, with, specific memories and things like that. I'm sure that's one of the areas that you're looking to recreate at an event like this, is not only showcasing this music, but also maybe connecting people to their younger days whenever they were playing video games as a child.
Oh, absolutely. Tyler, I don't know about you, but when I listen to a piece of music, sometimes it really goes into my memory, and I can see myself sitting in a room or, being somewhere, and I could even smell the atmosphere from, 20 years ago. Exactly what you said. I like to tap into the memories of everybody, who played, the game that's on this list that will be performed tomorrow.
So, and again, here we're chatting with Moon Doe, guest conductor for the show tomorrow night. It is at the Butler Intermediate High School. How did you settle on the set list for this show? Because there's a wide variety of video game music that's out there. How were you able to fine tune that performance for tomorrow night?
Well, very easy. I looked up arrangements and found good arrangements, but they, had to be pretty famous video games. And I did some research, and I wanted to have a variety of moods. I didn't want to have the entire concert, lined up with just bombastic music, right? Yeah, there are pieces, that are very slow and sad and, heart-wrenching. And there are really uppity pieces like, Super Mario theme. And so I wanted to create contrast in this program.
For those of us who, I love music, but I wouldn't say I'm music literate, in terms of reading music and observing it. Were you fascinated by the intricacies of some of these theme songs? The fact that you could take the Super Mario Brothers theme and turn it into a symphony piece, was that maybe surprising to you, or do you think it maybe would be surprising to people like me who wouldn't associate Super Mario's with a symphony?
Well, that's exactly why I programmed this program, is because I want, people who have not had exposure to orchestra playing to come, and hear this fantastic orchestra perform video game music that is very well made, rhythmically, harmonically, melodically, in every direction. So yeah, I wanted to showcase, the highly talented creations of highly talented composers. that weren't, Beethoven or Mozart or Bach.
For those who are in the musical composition side of it, I think one of the things that we get exposed to are pop stars or country artists or rock stars. From, your musical background, and for those, again, of us who may not directly associate it, is that there are so many areas of musical composition that there are people out there who are employed and whose job it is to create these different types of things, whether it's, television music, video game music. What's that world like, Moon? I mean, take me into the mind of somebody who is tasked with not creating a top 40 hit, but rather music for a production, whether it be a movie, a video game, TV show. What's that world like in trying to create a sound for that?
Oh, so Tyler, I would say that world, the creators, the composers, the writers, arrangers of that world also are one of the most highly trained people on this planet because they have to be able to tell a story through music. And in this 21st century, I believe they are the ones that are more that create more accessible music. I believe they are doing a great job with it. Just to give you an example, I grew up listening to John Williams, but I did not know how great his compositions were until I conducted Harry Potter and The Prisoner of Azkaban with the Pittsburgh Symphony. And when I actually sat down and studied the scores, my goodness, it was writing of the highest level.
So, again, we're here with Moon Do, Butler County Symphony, celebrating their 76th season. And Moon, you are one of the finalists to become the new conductor of the Butler County Symphony. So folks who are attending the symphony will get a chance to preview you and the other finalists as well this year. What drew you to this job? Why was this something that you're looking to pursue as the next stop in your career?
Well, it's an easy answer because I've worked with the Butler County Symphony Orchestra on 4 different programs already. And I remember the first time I stepped in for the Holiday Pops program 2 seasons ago. It was, I would say, love at first sight for me because everything was so easy. There was this level of professionalism. And then I was fortunate enough to, return 3 more times. So when the opportunity came to apply for the position, I sent my applications right away. So
in case listeners may not be familiar, and I think you've chatted with my colleague Dave a couple of times, what's your background? How did you find yourself in this area? What's your musical schooling? What do we need to know about Moon Do?
Well, I would say I have a pretty eccentric background when it comes to a conductor. My first encounter with musical instruments came in Russia, and I started on the cello and the piano. And then I grew up, in Korea, South Korea, in the U.S., Russia, Philippines. And so I was all over the place. And that first encounter with the instruments in the post-Soviet Russian school system was so powerful that, I was always in the music world somehow. But I did go to a normal college and, study economics and international studies because that was also a passion of mine. But then, as I told you, the pull was so strong from the music world that I decided to give myself a last chance to study music. So when I turned 27 on my 27th birthday, I got on a plane and flew to Germany to study conducting. And the rest is history. I'm here in Pittsburgh. This is my 4th season as associate conductor of the Pittsburgh Symphony. And I've been very lucky to work with many great orchestras in America, like the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, the Syracuse Orchestra. I was just with the New York Philharmonic last week, covering for 2 of their programs. Yeah, that's my brief background.
I'm curious, Moon, in your stops all over the world, which are fascinating to me, how is music taught in Russia? How is music presented in Russia and then in Korea and the Philippines? So, the fact that you got to draw from all these musical experiences is fascinating to me, but I'm always curious as to what the music landscape looks like in these other countries and then how we have it here in America.
Well, it's interesting because the musical schooling I got in Russia was very, very strict. So after normal school, I would go to music school every day, every week. I had 2 cello lessons a week, 2 piano lessons a week. I had solfege, theory, and choir and orchestra. So it was a very serious thing. In Korea, it was a bit different because I was traveling with my mother on a long distance bus once a week to Seoul for my lesson. And in the Philippines, the infrastructure wasn't as good as in many countries, but everything was very cheap. So I got to study with, the best performers and teachers for a very affordable price. And I'm sure in the U.S. it's a very systematic thing here as well. I did not go through that, the arts high schools and the summer camps, but I did have a very supportive group of teachers, and competed in competitions, played piano concertos with orchestras growing up. Played in a lot of youth orchestras as a cellist growing up.
What's the role of the conductor? Because what we see on performance night, conductor is up there, clearly the leader of the group. But take us behind the curtain. What are you doing in preparation for a show?
So the concert that you see is maybe 10% or 5% of the work a conductor does. I mean, if I were a music director, of an orchestra, it would maybe be less because there's so much work to be done. Example, today after this interview, I was already on my desk studying scores for, my rehearsal tonight, but I'll be looking through my scores, studying it. When I drive to Butler this afternoon, I'll be at a cafe somewhere studying the score before rehearsal starts, because I would like to know the scores really, really well so that I won't waste a minute of rehearsal time. And to keep it, to generalize, conductors are timekeepers. Every rehearsal, has a limited amount of time allotted to it, and so I have to achieve everything within those minutes. And I cannot. I have one rehearsal tonight and one rehearsal tomorrow afternoon, right before the concert. So there's no room for error. So I have to be the best timekeeper in the world.
Just super prepared, and as you said, keeping the things running on time. That's fascinating. Again, Moon Do, our guest, Butler County Symphony. Is there an instrument that was particularly your favorite, or one that you say you really excelled at?
Oh, well, I would say I excelled in both cello and piano, but my favorite would still be the cello. There's one instrument that I never played that I love to learn, and I think I'm still young enough to learn it. It would be the saxophone.
I love a good, and that's the thing to me about, an orchestra, and then as, I'm a fan of, band music and different things like that, is just to hear this combination all come together. And the fact that this has been happening for hundreds of years, to me is what makes it so fascinating, is that this music is still appealing to a wide group of audiences, and they could even go back hundreds of years. It's got to be one of the appeals. It's just the historical nature of a symphony or an orchestra.
Oh, absolutely. And the repertoire is just so huge that, I am sure you could go to the symphony every week for the rest of, your life and still hear new pieces every week. And tomorrow's show is one example. Who would have thought, video games would be being played at a concert with an orchestra? So yeah, sky's the limit.
Is there one particular piece from tomorrow night's show that has you excited? Like, I really think we got something here.
Well, yes. I have to go with the Super Mario Brothers because while I'm conducting it, I know I will be back in my childhood somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Michigan where I spent my childhood. And so it would be a treat for me.
Moon Do, again, guest conductor for the Butler County Symphony. It is a video game show tomorrow night at the Butler Intermediate High School. Moon, what time does the show start tomorrow night?
I believe it starts at 7:30.
And then folks can get tickets via the Symphony's website, and then also be able to get them at the door if you don't get them in advance. But Moon Do, again, appreciate the time, Moon. Pleasure chatting with you, and best of luck and have some fun tomorrow night.
Thank you so much, Tyler, for having me. And everyone, please come and dress up as your favorite game character, and see you there.